California does know how to party. They've really been enjoying what they've seen from the Lakers, especially in their last game. And guess what? You get 2 games today because the Lakers and the Suns, second game of our doubleheader. But unfortunately for Phoenix, CP3 dealing with a shoulder contusion. He hasn't scored more than single digits so far in this series.
Wow.
I mean, what impact has it had, him dealing with the injury, not being able to play the minutes, put up the shots that we're used to seeing him in the regular season?
I don't think the Suns have a chance if CP3 isn't on the floor. And that's just real talk about him. And Jay Rose, you made the point yesterday, same exact team that you had from a year ago, but yet you have the addition of a point guard in CP3 who makes the game easier for everybody on the court and can score. And it comes down to, look, you're playing against the best defensive rated team in the league, Jay Rose. Who's your secondary scorer after Devin Booker? There's really nobody for the Suns. That makes it easier for the Lakers.
I really feel bad for the Suns and their fans and Monty Williams, who did a terrific job getting this team to a 2 seed that wasn't in the playoffs last year. But you mentioned it. Like, Chris Paul has the most on-ball screens of any player in the NBA this year. His combination with DeAndre Ayton is second to Draymond Green and Steph Curry. So, like, it's imperative when he's in the game that he creates offense for everybody else. He's a terrific leader, and when he's not out there, just puts more stress on Devin Booker. Cameron Payne has been doing a terrific job trying to pick up the slack. But as a 2 seed without Chris Paul, they just don't have a chance against the Lakers.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. You looked at this path the Lakers had to try to get out of the West and how difficult it was going to be from the 7th seed. All of a sudden now they're in a series without Chris Paul, or a very limited Chris Paul, who is clearly not himself, gutting it out on the floor. And then you look ahead to the conference semifinal potentially, you know, in a Portland-Denver winner. That's not going to scare this Laker team. And we'll see what is awaiting them in the conference finals. But normally, if you were a 7th seed and what you tried to be climbing out of, it doesn't look quite as daunting for LA anymore.
Well, and I remember, too, what you said, Jalen. You were like, okay, you want to catch the Lakers early because what you're going to see is they're going to continue to ramp up and get better and better. And honestly, we've seen that from AD alone. He had 13 points in game 1. He's had 34 points in 2 and 3. I mean, what have we seen change, or what is starting to work and click as they continue to play on in this series?
At first, AD was allergic to the paint. He was drifting around the three-point line, and that's why they lost game 1. And then last couple of games, he got more confident, and he's been more direct about getting 2-foot paint catches and touches and attacking the basket. And also, LeBron James isn't settling. He's driving to the basket. And lastly, Dennis Schroeder has had 20 points the last couple of games. So the Lakers' attack is really operating on all cylinders.
And the way KCP has defended Devin Booker, he's been playing really good defense. But I think just for AD, it's mentality. I mean, when he wants to be aggressive, like when he gets that kick in the butt, to be aggressive like he did after game 1, all of a sudden you're like, all right, well, this is the AD that we know is a top 5 player in the league. It's a matter of him maintaining that aggressiveness throughout the entire playoff series, but that's who AD is when he wants to be.
AD had 16 paint touches in game 3, the most he's had so far this season. So maybe we'll see more of that. And obviously the Lakers have the 2-1 lead. Hello and welcome to NBA Countdown. We're coming to you live from above the Heineken River Deck in New York City. I'm Maria Taylor. That is Adrian Wojnarowski. We've got Jalen Rose with the broom, looking for sweeps. And we've got Jay Will in the building as well. And we get to start off today with a very classic North versus South rivalry. We are in Atlanta, and we knew that this was going to be a good series. Let's recap what we've seen so far. Trae Young took over in game 1 in Knicks-Hawks, scoring 32 points, 10 assists in his playoff debut, and hit the game winner with 1 second remaining in New York. Then the Knicks bounced back in game 2 by stopping Atlanta late in the game. The Knicks outscored the Hawks by 9 points in the final 5 minutes, holding Atlanta to 0 for 8 shooting. But once again, New York did not have an answer for Young in game 3, who scored or assisted on 54 points in the win. Julius Randle struggled as well, making 2 of his 15 shots. He also shot 0 for 8 on 2-pointers in Atlanta, and obviously this is their second game there. The question is, Jalen, was it something that Atlanta's doing that's been limiting Julius Randle? He's shooting 24% from the field in this series.
Shout out to Nate McMillan. I actually played against Mac-10, and I know that he's going to focus on defense as a head coach. And one thing that he's doing to Julius Randle is forcing him to play in the crowd. We're in New York City right now. Yeah. Julius understands New York City can be as crowded, and every inch has always lived. And that's what they're doing to him. You see Clint Capella, he's a help side defender. So you use Gallo, you use Collins. They're limp. They get up on them. They play them at the three-point line, use their athleticism, and then they're forcing them right to Clint Capella. So watch when Julius goes into his ISO, since he led the league in that category, how Clint Capella is a strong side helper.
And Jay Rose, they keep shading that left hand. They shade that left hand. All right, Julius, you want to come in here and finish? Try to finish with your right hand multiple times. I think the biggest question for the Knicks is how they defend Trae Young in that ball screen action, right? Because he's so dynamic. If you allow him to turn different ways and then all of a sudden start making shots going downhill, he gets the rest of that offense, Hunter, Herter, he gets all these guys involved, and that's what creates momentum for that team. So you have to stop him, cut up the snake, ahead of the snake.
And Jalen, Jay, New York has got to move that ball. They've got to make quicker decisions when the ball is in Julius Randle's hands, R.J. Barrett's hands, and the crowd comes. They have got to move the pass, and sometimes it's that second pass that gets you the open shot, and that's something you haven't seen the Knicks do in this series.
And one thing that we came to know the Knicks for was defense. I mean, they were top in the league in defense in almost every category, and we've seen the Hawks kind of having their way and finding their offensive flow against the Knicks.
MT, can we be real here? Because I love the Knicks.
Love this,
right? Being great defensively during the regular season is completely different than being great during the playoffs defensively. Because the talent level the Hawks have is superior to the Knicks, right? Yep. So now the Hawks are playing defense at that same threshold. So you need guys like Julius Randle, R.J. Barrett to pick up the load offensively because now everybody's intensity is heightened.
And also for Trae Young, half game will travel. He a 4-level scorer. So when we're talking about a handful of players in the league that shoot from the logo, that completely distorts the defense. And now all of a sudden you're guarding him close to half court with a pick and roll action. He going downhill. He could throw the lob. He could do the runner. He could do the floater. And Trae Young has really improved as a playmaker. He's a terrific scorer, and he's making a name for himself in these playoffs.
Yeah, you know, one position the Knicks had great depth in early this season was at center. But Mitchell Robinson is still out with a fractured foot. And Nerlens Noel continues to be limited with an ankle sprain. He played 22 minutes in Game 3. I'm told not to expect him to play much more than that in any of these games. And New York is really relying on Taj Gibson to carry a big load in the middle for them.
All right, well, the New York Knicks have won just one playoff series since 2000-2001 as they completed the 4-game sweep of the Heat Saturday behind Giannis, his first playoff triple-double. The win marked a complete turnaround from last year's 5-game defeat to the Heat that happened in the bubble. So now the Bucks wait for the winner of the Nets and Celtics series, which Brooklyn is currently leading 2-1. And then on the other side of the East bracket, the 76ers have a commanding 3-0 series lead and will look to complete the sweep of the Wizards on Monday. And assuming the Sixers finish off that series, they will await the winner of the 4-5 matchup, which you are getting ready to watch. That is the Hawks and the Knicks. Obviously, Julius Randle, the first Knicks player to average 20 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists in a season, but has been struggling. In Game 3, he went 2 for 15 from the field.
Ugly percentages. New York bricks.
And now we welcome in Cassidy Hubbard, who's basically making a home in Atlanta. She was there for Game 3, will be on the sidelines for Game 4. And we've seen the Hawks have success limiting Julius Randle. What are they saying about what they've done to contain him, Cassidy, in this series?
Well, Nate McMillan, he told us that their defensive approach against Julius is really, they're treating him like a guard at that 4 spot. They're not letting him isolate. They're getting up under him. They're really trying to cause a lot of havoc. Tibbs described it as the Hawks have 2.5 guys on him. Even Derrick Rose said their doubling is weird. And I just watched Julius warm up, and his shooting coach was getting up under him, causing some pressure as he was getting some shots off. Tibbs said he just wants Julius to keep it simple. As for R.J. Barrett, he says, I just got to make shots. Tibbs said that he showed all of their wide open shots in practice yesterday, telling the team, do not overcomplicate things. And they say it's a make or miss league, so the Knicks are hoping they make shots because they really didn't in Game 3.
Yeah, Julius Randle so far 13 for 54 in this series, but a person who has been making shots, Cassidy, is Trae Young. What has he told you about his mentality and the way he's embracing the playoffs?
Well, he said he prepared for this stage his whole life, but he told me that the motivation for him in these playoffs is, get this, the haters. He said that, you know, he's heard this narrative that he can't win, so he's looking to disprove that on this stage. And I think one thing you can look at is he's making winning plays. He has double-digit assists, and averaging double-digit assists, rather, in these playoffs. And from the lobs to Clint Capella, the floaters, to all the quality shooters around him, he's saying, I'm just having a lot of fun out there. And that's apparent, Maria.
It's obviously clear, and we hope you have fun in Atlanta. Enjoy Game 4. Cassidy Hubbard will be on the sideline.